want to welcome everyone to this exciting Connect and Learn. We're really excited today to have Niall Dammando from the Office of Workforce Strategy, Carol Heller from Bank of America, and also to introduce our two newest staff members today, Ben Tang and Austin Hutchinson, who have been hired by SVP to work on workforce development in conjunction with the Office of Workforce Strategy. So we're very excited to share this update today on the Career Connect program and on what's happening with the Office of Workforce Strategy. Let me just say kind of a sentence about social venture partners and then also just introduce Niall. So as I think many people, if not all people on this call know, Social Venture Partners is a social impact organization focused in Connecticut around closing the opportunity gap. We are doing so with a racial equity lens. Our goal is race equity and economic security for all. In order to do this work, we're focused in a couple of key program areas. One of those being workforce development, another being early childhood education. And we're also involved with supporting minority small business owners. Obviously this session is going to be focusing on workforce development. Social Venture Partners has worked for the last 2 years with the Governor's Workforce Council and the Office of Workforce Strategy on supporting the development of a comprehensive workforce strategy, and then on implementing the strategic initiatives. Niall Dammando joined the Office of Workforce Strategy from the beginning as the Chief of Staff to Kelly Vouries. Niall has a management consulting background prior to joining this role, but he has been leading the work for the last 2 years. I don't know what we would do without Niall. He's been kind of, an amazing kind of leader, working really in a very collaborative fashion with state government, with the business community, with nonprofits throughout the state. One of the focuses of Niall's kind of talk will be the Career Connect program that has been launched with ARPA dollars that have been allocated by the legislature and the governor. The Office of Workforce Strategy is going to be spending over $70 million on job training programs over the next 3 years, focused on the most marginalized populations, approaching this with an equity lens, but providing short-term job training to place people in high-quality jobs, throughout the state. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Niall to present an update on the Office of Workforce Strategy and Career Connect. Niall?
Thanks, Mark, and good to meet all of you. I see some familiar faces here. Nice to see all of you again. But for those of you who I have not had the pleasure of working with or meeting, it's great to see you all, and excited to sort of share some updates on what our office has been working on. There is certainly a lot, and it's a growing list. But I'm going to pull up some slides and I will get right to it because I know we have a lot to cover in 60 minutes. Bear with me for 1 second. Okay. So I wanted to, Mark mentioned one of our sort of signature initiatives, but before I jump in, I just wanted to provide a little bit of additional kind of context into our office for those of you who are not as familiar with the work that we're doing. But we were codified during last legislative session to really provide two kind of core functions across the state. One is to staff the Governor's Workforce Council and to ensure that Mark and the rest of the council are supported in terms of executing on the GWC strategic plan, and also to kind of coordinate workforce development programs across the state and to serve as the principal advisor to the governor on workforce policy. So we have, there's a lot that rolls into that, but our role is to really make sure that there is limited duplication and maximum collaboration across the workforce space, and that everything that's being done is sort of in constant alignment with our strategic plan. So I will get into a lot more of our specific initiatives, but I first just wanted to level set with the general focus of our office. So what you see on the slide here, as always, we will be working to implement the strategic plan initiatives. But one thing that was born out of the legislative session last year was a pretty unprecedented investment in workforce development. And there were multiple investments coming from multiple sources, but one of the investments that Mark alluded to was $70 million going to workforce training programs. And what we are trying to do with this funding is to really not only systems build and build partnerships, but also to really make short-term progress in terms of getting people back to work who were displaced from the pandemic. So our goal with this kind of phase one that you see here on the left-hand side is to really use this program to build and to support innovative best practice models that we've seen work across the state, whether it was the manufacturing pipeline initiative or some of the work that Mark and Bernie had done about a year ago when it came to healthcare workforce. But what you see sort of listed on the left-hand side here is really our priorities when we look at a job training program. There's pre-assessments, there's ample recruitment, full supportive services being provided to the learner, there's professional and technical skills, there's employer commitments, and there's outcomes evaluation. That, grossly oversimplifies our model, but those are some of the things that we really look for and will be looking for when rolling out this grant program. And we'll get more into that in a bit. So ARPA is really our first phase, our kind of our rollout. And our second phase is going to be $40 million in state bonding. And this is a bit more of a flexible fund for our office. And to be very clear, I should have been a good civil servant and added draft to this slide because this still needs to be approved by our OPM, but just know that we are still working through the priorities of this bonding. But as you can see on the slide, we're trying to take really an innovative approach here to fund sort of new innovative pilots for workforce in Connecticut. So you'll see we're prioritizing adult basic ed. We are working on developing a pay it forward fund that would ask learners to pay back their tuition once they've earned a job over time. So there's kind of a recyclability component to that, which we're really excited to get that kicked off. We're working on rolling out a new transportation fund in Connecticut that would support, that would bring kind of an expanded suite of transportation options to individuals in training programs or individuals who are in work. We are rolling out an incumbent worker training fund that would roll out roughly about $10 million to individuals who are currently employed but could use additional upskilling. We, as Mark might have mentioned in other kind of meetings, but we have a new, and I'll touch on this later in the presentation, we have a new diversity, equity, and inclusion committee that was launched in the Governor's Workforce Council, which is really a phenomenal group of community leaders that have really championed kind of workforce inclusivity in their work. We are going to be allocating funding to support that committee and the initiatives that they outline. And finally, we'll be focused on kind of getting additional funding to some of our SNAP E&T providers in Connecticut. Any SNAP E&T provider, job training provider in Connecticut is eligible for a 50-50 reimbursement from the Fed. So there's a really great opportunity to increase our federal matching investment in job training. And then on the right-hand side here, kind of what we're calling phase 3 is additional kind of funding sources for new initiatives. And a lot of this is in the works, but we're really hopeful that this is going to take off. The governor actually is making his budget announcement this week, so I'm not going to preempt that in any way, but know that there will be additional workforce investments called out in that budget. Some for broader workforce training, but also for healthcare training, and kind of healthcare faculty and tuition supports for people going into the healthcare and mental health space. So we're very excited to get that kicked off. And then also some additional support for dual enrollment. So how can our office partner with State Department of Ed to roll out new kind of dual credit and dual enrollment programs at the high school level? I won't mention number 2 that you see there because we'll touch on that later in the presentation. But as you can see, a lot happening, not only from a funding standpoint, but just from an energy standpoint in the workforce space. You know, Governor Lamont, this is his pretty much signature policy initiative. So lots to do over the next couple of years, and even in the last year, we've accomplished a lot. So I'm going to just jump right into Career Connect. I'm happy to answer questions at the end, and feel free to ping in the chat. I'm happy to take questions as we go. But just to kind of breeze through this, so the 70 million investment is going to go towards supporting individuals who have been impacted by the pandemic. So this initial pool of funding is really going to people who are currently unemployed or who have in some way been negatively impacted by COVID, which is mostly everyone in this case. But the real focus is to get them industry recognized credentials through short-term training programs that are roughly 6 to 12 weeks long, that has employer commitments tied to the front end of the training program. In terms of kind of the award size, we've sort of bifurcated it into 2 different types. One is a regional application. So, you know, Connecticut has 5 federally designated workforce development areas. If it is anywhere less than 5 in an application, we are awarding grants up to $3 million and up to 3 years. If the application has organizations or employers included for all 5 workforce development regions, we are saying that you are eligible for up to 4 years and up to $18 million. So we're really trying to stress getting individuals to collaborate on a broader statewide level so that there really are economies of scale when funding these programs. And just to call out, the reason why you see 63 million here is because there are other initiatives that fortunately for the grant program, we've had to pull funds away from in order to fund additional things. So there's about 63 million going to grants. This is a rough industry breakdown. As you can see, it's pretty evenly split. We have our 4 kind of core primary industries ranging from manufacturing, IT, healthcare, and kind of infrastructure and clean energy. And then we have sort of an all other bucket. This could be anything from transportation to biotech, fintech, really kind of leaving it as a innovation bucket, if you will, of new and burgeoning industries. So but we're projecting to, with this 63 million, support about 8,400 people in getting back to work over the next 3 to 4 years. So this is a pretty ambitious agenda, but we're confident based on previous experience that we can hit these numbers. The overall intent here in terms of people to serve is going to be around ensuring that any person, unemployed, impacted by COVID is from an underrepresented or historically marginalized population. We've listed 5 on here. That is by no means exhaustive, but those are just 4 examples that we've pulled directly from our DEI committee for the GWC. So we're really, we're not saying if you don't serve these populations, you will not receive funding, but we are saying if you show a concentrated focus on these, you have a very good chance of seeing funding, because those really are the people that suffered the most in the pandemic, suffered the most historically, and we're really trying to use this grant money to right the ship and get our workforce back on track from an equity standpoint. So I'm not going to get into the weeds on this slide, but basically at a high level, there are 3 organizations that are eligible applicants. 1 is a regional workforce development board. 2 is any community-based or nonprofit organization. And 3 is any individual or consortia of higher ed institutions. You might be asking, are employers eligible? Are, municipal governments eligible? The short answer is they're definitely eligible to receive funding. They're just not eligible applicants of the funding. So what we are encouraging is for any employers or, any additional institutions or partners that you see on this list, that the eligible applicants partner with them to form an application, and in their budget call out how much funding needs to go to the employer, what the role is of the employer, et cetera. So we're trying to limit the pool of people who are applicants, but really keep a broad lens in terms of who is actually eligible to receive funding, whether in the form of job training, on the job training for employers, et cetera. On the right-hand side here, you'll see a lot of the eligible uses are for job training related expenses. This ranges from tuition to supportive services, childcare, transportation, housing, ensuring that there's ample recruiting support, marketing support, and ensuring that there's kind of ample case management services provided to learners. So what is not really eligible are any technology systems development, research projects, system improvement activities. Those are things that ARPA unfortunately is not able to fund. But if there are needs for that you all are seeing, our office is happy to get on the phone and chat through what are some other available opportunities. Just in terms of process, there will be 2 teams. Well, there are 2 teams. We're already kind of knee deep in this at this point. There is the technical assistance team, which is being led by Kelly, and has both 2 team members from OWS, and then Ben and Hutch from this group also heavily supporting this. But the goal really is to support applicants in their process of developing an application. We know this is sort of a complex network to navigate, so we're hopeful that our technical assistance team will be leveraged to help submit quality applications. The other is the review team, which will be led by myself. Mark has been a tremendous partner in terms of identifying SVP support for that review team. So as soon as the applications are submitted, our review team will start peeling through them and making funding decisions. On timing, the applications are due by February 20th. This is just the first round, and we know, this was released the first week of January, so we're about a month in already. But there will be subsequent rounds, and I can say with certainty that we will have leftover funding. I can't say how much leftover funding at this point, but there will be leftover funding for at least one more round. So the next round of funding will be in August. I think it says August 21st on the slide would be the next deadline, but as much as possible, we are trying to get as much funding allocated for this initial February deadline. And one thing I would mention, this is guidance that's going to be released hopefully this week. We are allowing applicants, if for some reason they fall a little bit short in their application, but we really want to move, we see there's a lot of promise and we want to move forward with them. There's going to be a review period where, some will get funded right away, some will get rejected right away, but there will be this other group where you will be kind of put into a review period where you'll work with the technical assistance team sort of again to address some feedback that the review team generated. So we're trying to embed a high degree of flexibility when administering this funding. Just the last slide in Career Connect, and then I can pause for some questions on this before I get into some of the other stuff. Just a general timeline slide. February 20th is the deadline. Our goal is to get funding out towards the end of March or early April, and then we'll repeat that process come August. We're in the process of launching we're in the process of sourcing a marketing firm to do a statewide marketing campaign for this. This marketing campaign is less focused on getting producing applications, but more focused on getting participants aware of this program so they could submit their information into a statewide recruitment portal that we're building. The goal with this portal is really to be the front door for Career Connect programs. We really want to try to centralize this, make really a single digitized front door, and ensure that we're not only connecting with our additional state agency partners with our CT hire system and other kind of technology systems, but really streamlining the process for the user. We know that there's, people have limited access to internet services. They have limited technical capabilities. So we're not only trying to make one single portal to kind of throw your name in the hat for a job training program, but also make that portal really intuitive and easy to use. And then you'll see on the bottom, I'll get into those two a little bit later, but we're also in the process of rolling out a whole new technology system in Connecticut we're still working on the naming convention, but right now it's called jobs.ct.gov. It's one of the service categories for the MyCT architecture in state government. And then as you see on the way bottom, we're working on rolling out our plan for the bonding funds that I was talking about earlier. So I will pause there and just see if there's any immediate questions. If not, I can get into some of the Career Connect related initiatives that we're working on. Fiona, I see you have your hand up. Fiona, you might be on mute if you're talking.
Me? I don't think I have my hand up. I don't mean to. Sorry.
Okay. No problem. I see Martha has your hand up as well. Oh, Martha, you're on mute.
So how many applications are you expecting to get in this initial phase? I mean, are we talking hundreds? Are we talking thousands? What are the numbers?
I certainly hope not thousands because we don't have the staff to support that. What I think our estimated projection right now, it's tough to say because not everyone is using our technical assistance team. But a rough estimate is between 30 and 50 applications at this point. And we think that out of the roughly 63 million in grant funds that we will probably spend a majority of that, but there will be, maybe single digit millions left to support future rounds.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what's going to be the difference between someone getting funding and someone not getting funding? Is it that they're not going to be clear enough in their outcomes or clear enough in their plans? Is that the difference between getting funding and not getting funding?
Yeah, so we have, and I realized that I didn't have this slide in the presentation, but I'm happy to share it. I will share it with everyone after this call. We have a pretty in-depth scoring criteria rubric that we're using to evaluate each of the proposals. So this is all based on a point system. So we have about, I want to say 10 to 12 criteria, each weighted differently. But our review team will be really using that as our North Star for determining, which get funded and which don't get funded. So what I can say off the top of my head, the two biggest factors, the two most heavily weighted criteria are you focused on underrepresented communities in your job training programs? And do you have ties to the employer community through employer commitments? That represents, 30 to 40%, I think, of the total pool of points. So all of this is public knowledge, and I'll send a link to our website that has all the sort of documents and deliverables for people to work on the application. But there's a really detailed scoring criteria rubric that we've posted that I hope can answer some of those questions, Martha.
Looks like Rick Sebastian has his hand raised.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Niall. Good information. I'm serving on the disability subcommittee of the workforce DEI committee. And I've got two questions as it relates to your first slide in the phases. Inside of phase one, when we're looking at certification, that there is a massive workforce crisis today in most of the human service oriented not-for-profit sector here in Connecticut. How do we envision, as part of the Career Connect and the use of ARPA funds, how do we envision creating access for people to enter the human services work world, knowing that the vast majority of direct support professionals are earning significantly less than $50,000? So how hard is the $50,000 target for high wage job? And is this an opportunity to raise those direct support professional wages from a neighborhood of 32 to 35,000 to 50,000? And then I'll have a second question for in the bonding phase.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic question. I think just a couple of kind of comments. One is we are definitely looking to support those type of roles first and foremost. We've had a lot of conversations with our other, sister agencies, DCF, DSS, DPH, et cetera, about how can we broaden the funnel to more health services or, mental health counseling type roles that have really been hit hard with the pandemic. I will say the 50,000 wage is purely a benchmark, and by no means are we saying if the role is less than that, they're not eligible for funding. However, there are, I think one of the points you're alluding to in terms of can we raise the wages for these types of careers, that is something that we are having a lot of conversations with at the state level about how can we better prop up these roles, because CNA is a really good example, a slightly different industry, but I would say a similar issue where the need is great, but the wages are really meager. And so how can we work with our employer community to, kind of meet us halfway to put some skin in the game themselves? So there are a lot of conversations happening there. And I'm thrilled to hear that you're part of the DEI committee, because our goal is to help bridge each of the working groups of the DEI committee with the employer community to have those kind of conversations where they can really hear from people who are on the ground and who are being hit the hardest themselves, or who know people who are getting hit the hardest, so that they can relay that information so that we can really start influencing the employer community. And our office is using some of this funding as a carrot for the employer community as well, saying we would pay for job training funding for you if you meet X, Y, and Z criteria. So there are a lot of levers I think that we can pull in terms of getting people into those kind of critical occupations that might not have high enough wages right now. And the one other thing I would mention, this sort of gets to phase 3, but I think more broadly, we are looking to increase the number of training programs in the sort of social services track. That has not really been a focus of the council nor our office up to this point, but I think we've really listened to the community, seen what happened with COVID, and there are actually additional ARPA proposals being considered right now in the budget negotiations that would go directly towards funding workforce training programs related to sort of social services related careers. So, your psychologists, social workers, et cetera. So we know that's been an industry hit hard, and we're, doing our best to sort of, get as much support as possible out to those individuals and those occupations.
I'd like to take kind of questions from James and Fiona, and then we'll need to move on to the next part of the Connect and Learn. So James?
Yeah, sure. Just a thought. Has any thought been given to the regional distribution of the funds? Is it going to be population weighted? Are you going to have that in mind? I mean, it just from an equity point of view, if you're looking at it statewide, how are you thinking about that?
Yeah, great question. I mean, we have not been overly explicit in terms of how much funding is going to go to certain regions. What I will say at this point is we're going to take a wide-ranging look at and making sure that all regions in the state are supported, and that within those regions there's a wide swath of sort of underrepresented communities that that are supported within each of those regions. So we're trying to take a broad and comprehensive lens, while also knowing that some regions in the state serve certain populations more than others. And I think we're going to take that into account when looking at the total funding disbursement.
Fiona?
Yes, hi, this is a different Fiona. Sorry, I was muted before. Talking about, traditionally underrepresented groups, I'm wondering if you're working with the NAACP 1 Million Jobs campaign, because I know that they are very active in creating relationships. I believe they're even now contractual with all of the hospital systems in Connecticut and beginning to work with CVS and other organizations for on-the-job training programs that are paid. And they are just the kind of jobs that you're talking about. And I wondered if you're familiar with this or working with them.
Yeah, Fiona, it's a great question. The short answer is we are actively trying to figure out how we can work with them. Our Department of Economic and Community Development partners have been in conversations with the NAACP, and our goal is to weave them into an existing Career Connect application. Because right now DECD has offered state matching funds to an NAACP investment, and we'd like to kind of also ensure that Career Connect is going to supporting those efforts. So right now we are working on an application with the NAACP. We actually have a call with them that's in the works of being scheduled, but the goal is for them to get looped into a larger statewide proposal focused on the reentry population. So we're really trying to thread the needle here in terms of getting them involved. So it's a great point, and I'm hopeful that we're going to get an application in time by late February for them to get some funding.
Niall, I hate to do this to you, but do you mind seeing if you could, in 2 minutes, kind of wrap up on
Of course.
on just touching on a couple of the other things?
Yeah, I will just quickly touch on our Good Jobs Challenge update in the 2 minutes I have, and I'll work with Mark just to share these slides out after the fact so you can see some of the other content. But at a really high level, our office is coordinating a Good Jobs Challenge application. This is a federal EDA grant for it's a $500 million pool. Our office will be putting in an application for about $25 million. Our goal here is really to support the regional sector partnership infrastructure that we've laid out. So OWS is serving as the statewide lead, and our goal is kind of twofold with this. There's 10 regional sector partnerships in Connecticut right now. These are basically just regional groups of employers that set their regional workforce development kind of agendas. Our goal is to give each of them funding through this grant, both from a regional sector partnership startup perspective and also using these partnerships to run and facilitate job training programs. So we're anticipating an additional roughly 3,000 individuals to be trained from this pool of funds. The application is due in 2 days. So we're in the witching hour, but we're really excited and hopeful that this application is going to go through, because this is the regional sector partnership infrastructure is kind of a fundamental component of the strategic plan and the work of the Governor's Workforce Council. So happy to take some questions offline on this or follow up via email. I know there's probably a lot more to cover in the agenda, But we're really excited about this proposal in particular. And then I have some other slides, but I'll share them out with the group, and I'm happy to take some of them offline.
Niall, thank you for that really exciting update. And thank you for your tireless work as Chief of Staff for the Office of Workforce Strategy. It's really kind of moved us forward in really, really well. Next, I'd like to introduce Carol Heller from the Bank of America. Carol leads the, I may not get this right, Carol, but the Southern Connecticut region, is that, and also the philanthropic side of Bank of America. I'll let you kind of improve my introduction, but I wanted to kind of just mention that almost for 2 years, Bank of America has been a really important philanthropic and strategic partner with social venture partners and with the Governor's Workforce Council and Office of Workforce Strategy on workforce development. Workforce development, I'll let Carol explain, but is a national priority for Bank of America. And a year and a half ago, one of our SVP partners, Bernie Park, worked extensively with Carol and with our community college partners and with Career Resources to get a very innovative healthcare program started in Fairfield County that is now serving as a linchpin for the work that we're doing statewide. On top of that, and most importantly for today, Bank of America has made a very generous grant to social venture partners on workforce development that has enabled us to hire Ben Stang and Austin Hutchinson, who you'll be hearing from in just a second. Ben working in healthcare, Hutch working in IT, and they are working very closely, as Niall said, with the Office of Workforce Strategy on programming related to Career Connect and building out other programming career pathways in those sectors. So with that, I want to turn it over to Carol to talk a little bit about kind of Bank of America and our partnership.
Thanks, Mark, and all of our friends at SVP and Niall, great to see you. Thank you all for your incredible partnership. It's fabulous to join so many and see great attendance this afternoon. At Bank of America, we're focused on responsible growth by delivering for our teammates, clients, and shareholders to really focus on society's biggest challenges. But our work is squarely focused on advancing racial equality and economic opportunity. That is core to our philanthropic giving, including our new $1.25 billion commitment over 5 years. Bank of America's commitment builds on the work that we've already had in place through direct partnerships like what we've been doing here with the SVP and the community colleges and all, and efforts to help catalyze work across the private sector. As Mark mentioned, this is a philanthropic priority. It is our #1 strategic priority in this market and nationwide and at the executive level within our organization. We're focused on 4 key areas within this $1.25 billion commitment, focused on jobs and reskilling as our top priority, in addition to small business, health, and affordable housing. And that really includes ensuring that everyone has access to tools and resources needed to build wealth, connecting people to good jobs. It's great to hear some of the focus this afternoon in terms of dollar focus, but also the needs are coming through in the human services sector. We're focused on making sure that we have adequate health care, ensuring there's access to capital to grow small businesses, and providing a solid base for affordable housing. That's really the shape of our racial equality and economic opportunity commitment. But our efforts are bigger than a numerical commitment. At Bank of America, advancing racial equality and economic opportunity is fundamental to how we run our company, support our teammates, deliver products and services to our clients, and really invested in the communities focused on issues that are impacting us all. So out of this commitment, and thank you for the introduction, Mark, Bank of America has made and built a tremendous partnership with SVP over the past 2 years. We've been proud to roll up our sleeves with SVP members, Bernie Park. Bernie, it's great to see you here today, and a number of other familiar faces. Mark, obviously you've been an amazing teammate and really a lot of deeply dedicated visionary partners at the community college system, NCC, HCC, Career Resources, partners at Yale, New Haven Health, Stanford, and Hartford Healthcare, and others. Focus on developing and funding innovative healthcare training and program supports that was initially shaped around the displaced hospitality workers. But out of our collaboration in 2020 and 21, we've moved forward and come together to partner on going beyond the immediate pandemic crisis, and are excited to join SVP now in a really shared long-term focus on building infrastructure and on addressing systemic solutions to our biggest social and economic challenges facing our state: racial equality, economic inclusion, with a really core focus on our priority focus of education and workforce development for youth and adults. We're looking ahead to continue to build on the healthcare partnership that Mark outlined, and our collective vision is to leverage and build nonprofit and educational system capacity to provide training for sustainable careers across the state, careers of the future, and careers that are directly aligned to short and long-term hiring needs of local employers. So it's great to see that 30% plus component of the overall Career Connect assessment is looking at not only training, but training that's tied to real job commitments by local employers. And we aim to do so by leveraging and connecting public resources, philanthropy, corporate leadership and investment, as well as critical non-volunteer engagement right here with partners at SVP. So we're excited to invest in bringing on the new statewide workforce development project implementation leaders. It's fabulous to see our new partners today and to meet you. I've heard a lot about you. It's great. We're excited to fund staffing commitments for these two strategy directors aligned to Career Connect, who we can hardly wait to hear from today, and to support the Governor's Workforce Council and Office of Workforce Strategies new workforce system. So Bank of America will be leveraging these government dollars designed and designated for training by really stepping in and providing critical dollars dedicated to project oversight and implementation. We encourage the private sector to join us and laying and advancing this important work, and really stepping in to fill in the gaps for where that ARPA funding and the new state bonding funding can't fill in. And that's really in that infrastructure work and the staffing support work in order to get these dollars out in the street and supported. So together, thank you, Mark. Thank you all partners. Together with SVP, we're excited to help execute the vision for workforce development and really help lay out the plan for the Governor's Workforce Council moving forward. We're energized and we're focused on building pathways to high quality, in-demand, sustainable jobs in our state via the new Career Connect job training program and initiative. And we look forward to investing and building out our partnerships. Partnerships such as with Year Up, a highly successful national model that Bank of America has been working with for years, that we look forward to working with as plans move forward in Connecticut. And we're excited to see what's in store moving forward with Career Connect. We know that workforce development and jobs are key to Connecticut's continued recovery and future success. And together, we look forward to really making a difference together. So thank you, Mark, for the partnership. Great to see you, Bernie and friends, and so many familiar nonprofit partners.
Carol, thank you so much. You are really a fabulous partner to us and to the state. So we really greatly appreciate the collaboration with Bank of America and your generosity. Now I'd like to introduce Ben Stang, one of our newest SVP staff. Ben comes to us most recently from Helmsley Philanthropies, where he oversaw a healthcare grant portfolio with various healthcare organizations. So I'd like to introduce him and Bernie Park also, who are working together on really helping to build out with a number of other partners. I see Marcia Proto here from the Connecticut League of Nursing and many other partners, building out kind of healthcare workforce programs related to Career Connect and other initiatives as well. Ben?
Thanks, Mark, for the introduction. I am going to share my screen. I have some slides, and I recognize that we're running a little short on time, so I'll do my best to get through these quickly. Can everyone see these well? Great. And before I get started, I want to give a big thank you to Martha Mincer for working behind the scenes so we could all be here today, and Bernie Park for being a great support system as I've gotten my sea legs under me over the last month. She's been doing this for a couple of years now, and she's really a true subject matter expert in this stuff. So I'm grateful to be working with her. So just to set the stage of where the healthcare landscape is now, we're heading into our second year of the pandemic, and the health system has reached multiple breaking points. And like many other sectors and really society as a whole, what COVID's done more than anything is shed light on problems that have been existing for years. In Connecticut, we have a rising demand for healthcare. Almost 20% of our population is above 65 years old. We have thousands of unfilled healthcare provider, nursing, and allied healthcare positions throughout the state. We have an education system that can't get enough workers into the field. And even when people enter the workforce, those professional development opportunities for them can be limited. So essentially what we have is a healthcare system that needs more workers, but it's challenging for people to enter it. And all of this is a problem from the workforce development perspective, but we should also be viewing this from an economic development perspective, right? Health systems are anchor institutions in their communities and their regions. Many times they provide some of the most sustainable employment people can access. And for the most part, healthcare is recession-proof. You can look at examples throughout the country of Rust Belt cities that have fared well since the Great Recession. And a commonality among a lot of them is that they have a strong healthcare system. So within the Governor's Workforce Council, there's a healthcare subcommittee. And within the healthcare subcommittee, we have a number of working groups. And through these working groups, we're looking to hit the entire spectrum of the healthcare workforce. This is made up of key opinion leaders that have been working to identify the most pressing problems and tangible solutions to address them. And really the role of SVP has been organizing this group to bring the best ideas to the surface and coordinating with the Office of Workforce Strategies so that when funding opportunities become available, we have fully developed projects to fill them quickly and seamlessly. If you had to boil down all of the ideas from the healthcare subcommittee, this is where we've landed. The first and most pressing thing that we're doing is focused on getting people into the healthcare pipeline, right? We have a system that's still underwater and we need to address this as quickly as we can. So the focus is on entry-level jobs like certified nursing assistants, home health aides, medical assistants, etc. Next, you need to promote career advancement for new and incumbent healthcare workers so that they see a path forward. And last, we're working to build a sustainable workforce and expose students to the healthcare field as young as high school. And on the periphery of all of this is the policy and regulatory environments, right? The scope of practice that healthcare workers can work under, the credentialing process that gets them working, all of this stuff matters. So as Niall was talking about Career Connect, that's our first major opportunity to get new participants into the healthcare workforce. So what SVP is doing is providing technical assistance on a statewide program that will be recruiting unemployed and underemployed individuals into a program called Health Career Academy. What the Academy is it's essentially a one-week boot camp where participants can learn about different career paths in healthcare before choosing what occupational training they want to pursue. And then once a career path is chosen, that person goes through the training program for free. They receive case management and supportive services as they're needed. What SVP's role has been here for the most part is engaging employers to participate in the program. So we're asking major health systems for commitments like interviewing people before they even start training, providing intent to hire letters so that someone knows there's a job on the other side of the training waiting for them, an apprenticeship model. So where people can either be paid an hourly wage while they're completing the training or a stipend. And the thing I want to stress here is that we're not twisting any employer's arms to do this stuff. We've been in discussion with one of the major EMT providers in the state, and they offer participants $16 an hour and full benefits while going through training programs, but they can't fill those spots. So it's really important that we set this program up for success from the start, because through this and other initiatives, as Niall mentioned, we're looking to train upwards of 2,000 new healthcare workers. So once someone is in the healthcare workforce, the next logical step is to promote career advancement. But the reality is that for a lot of entry-level healthcare workers, especially nurses, there are barriers to doing this. Certified nursing assistants and licensed practical nurse programs are certificate programs, so they're non-credit bearing. So if that person then wants to progress to a nurse, they would have to start from square one and go get at least an associate's degree from scratch. And at Social Venture Partners, we talk about closing the opportunity gap and race equity and changing the underlying systems that are holding people back. And the fact is that more than 70% of CNAs and LPNs are women of color. These people are working full time and very few are making a living wage. So you need to think about how hard it really is for someone to drop everything they're doing to go get a 2 or 4 year degree. So on a systems level change, what we're working to do is promote a pathway for CNAs and LPNs to at least become entry-level nurses, where the average wage in Connecticut is about $70,000. And this is really a 2-for-1 deal, because not only does that lift someone into the middle class, but it generates more nurses, which the system is in desperate need of. The other thing that we're doing, and which Niall alluded to, is increasing educational capacity. So every year, Connecticut nursing schools are only accepting about 1/3 of eligible applicants because there simply aren't enough faculty to teach these students or clinical placement sites to train them. And this has actually gotten so bad that health systems are feeling it and starting to take initiative. Last month, Hartford Healthcare announced a $5 million partnership with Quinnipiac to do many things, but the major one being to build a career pipeline. Within the healthcare subcommittee, we have leaders from health systems and education. I see Marcia Proto on the line, whose fingerprints are behind a lot of what we're doing, but looking to set up tangible projects to open up the educational bottleneck. So in addition to having a plan in place, should funding become available through OWS, they're also exploring innovative models like joint appointments, diversifying clinical placements, and expanding the use of medical simulation. So what I've been talking about is a lot of how we're trying to solve the current problems, but what we also are looking to do is engage young people to enter the healthcare workforce, right? We know that not all students graduating high school have the resources available to go into a 4-year nursing program. In some areas throughout the state, you have school districts, higher education, and health systems creating dual credit and enrollment programs where a student can actually graduate high school with college credits that are transferable to healthcare associates and bachelor's programs. In fact, 2 SVP partner organizations, Ready CT and Norwalk ACTS, are doing this right now in New Haven and Norwalk. But ultimately, what we're looking to do is build programs like this out, develop a gold standard of them so that they can be disseminated throughout other areas of the state. And again, the healthcare subcommittee has been sharing what works in this space and getting potential projects and relationships in place should funding opportunities become available elsewhere. So with that, I thank you for your time. This is my email. Feel free to reach out to learn more about what I'm working on, what you're working on, or just to say hi. And I will kick it over to talk about the IT workforce.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one more thing before I kick it over to Hutch, which is that I'm happy to report that just this week, we have almost 1,300 hiring commitments for almost 1,300 positions from healthcare systems for Career Connect. So there will be jobs for people who complete these training programs. Very exciting. We expect that number will probably get to 2,000 within healthcare, very easily, because that represents, those numbers are from the 2 biggest healthcare systems in the state. So, with that, I'd like to introduce Austin Hutchinson. Austin has come to us most recently as the P-Tech program manager for IBM in Norwalk, working with Norwalk High School and Norwalk Community College and with employers to build one of the most robust dual credit, dual enrollment programs in the state. And I'll let kind of Hutch both talk about kind of the work that we're doing in IT workforce strategy, as well as maybe we'll have time, Hutch, just to mention a little bit about kind of, P-Tech for those who aren't aware of it.
Of course, I'd love to do that, Mark. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you guys again for showing up here today. These are awesome, aren't they? And I would really like to give a shout out to Mark, the mentor, for putting all of this together. They're seamless, easy for us to connect and really come together around some of these pressing issues around Connecticut. I know that I'm a new face. So I just want to give you just a brief introduction of who I am. I'm a Charlotte, North Carolina native. I'm a proud HBCU alum, and I've been in Connecticut for just under 3 years now. So I really got into this work advocating for access and opportunity when I started my educational career. It began with Teach for America, where I served for 2 years in South Louisiana, and then on to serving for 3 years in a high school in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. From there, I joined IBM and got on their corporate social responsibility team, where I served as the industry program manager overseeing the PTech partnership between Norwell Community College, Norwell Public Schools, and IBM as an industry partner. So I really wanted to join social venture partners because I'd already been doing lots of work on the ground with school and district leaders, developing workplace learning curriculums, managing early career programs like internships, apprenticeships, co-ops at IBM. So I saw the disconnect between educators and employers, but I also couldn't help but notice a lack of student preparation for a 21st century workplace. So as we go ahead and look at the challenges ahead, the three most pressing changes needed for Connecticut's workforce are around access, opportunity, and ability. So we're currently in the advent of the fourth industrial revolution. And while it has advanced technology and productivity, it also threatens to exacerbate inequality and a growing opportunity gap. So educators here are challenged to keep pace with rapid and frequent technological developments and transformation in industry developments. But for those who are already in the workforce, there needs to be structured pipelines to family sustaining opportunities. So information technology is one of the highest growth sectors in the US economy. We currently have 6,000 open computing jobs here in Connecticut with an even larger future demand. A major barrier presents itself as employers are at a loss because our workforce is severely underskilled. So that's where social venture partners, along with the Office of Workforce Strategy, are ensuring that through strategic and equitable initiatives like, developing more flexible industry-aligned job training programs or designing alternative career pathways for high school students, expanding recruitment into employment opportunities, increasing business engagement through our regional sector partnerships and our work with Advanced AT. So with Career Connect's funding, as Niall spoke about earlier, this is a once in a generation effort to really guide, support, and train over 2,000 individuals from marginalized groups and linking them to entry-level IT careers. So for many, the barrier to access information and educational resources begin at the time of birth. They're determined by zip code. And then therefore, instead of inheriting generational wealth, many individuals are inheriting generational setbacks. So at Social Venture Partners, we really value a systems change approach at really achieving these solutions. So I'm going to take you a little bit through how we've decided to work together, designing multiple plans of action to ensure that over 2,000 Connecticut residents become highly skilled and performance ready to excel in the IT workspace. So our solutions here start at being able to train them early. Being able to meet all job seekers really on all skill levels, starting at 9. We need to train them early. And this happens through programs and partnerships with our high schools, implementing work-based learning, and high school students in early careers like paid internships and apprenticeships, really accelerating that post-secondary access. Then we have our work supporting our Connecticut state community colleges and universities and their guided pathways initiatives, where we're helping individuals statewide efficiently complete IT credentials in areas of high demand. These are like IT support, information security, user design, web development, cloud computing, software engineering. I could go on, but most important, there's training needed to really transfer the content knowledge to on-the-job performance. So we're also engaging with our education specialists like the Business Higher Education Forum to collaborate with educators in designing our state IT pathway curriculums. These meet current and future industry demands through its Tech Talent Accelerator. So we've also done a really good job getting two IT-focused regional sector partnerships off the ground, one in the capital area, and then also one here in Southwest Connecticut. So these partnerships provide leadership for building a business-led agenda that aligns business needs, education, and also training programs. So in addition to our work with the regional sector partnerships, we're really making that push in Connecticut to push Connecticut employers to adopt a skills-based hiring in lieu of a 4-year degree requirement, because oftentimes that really eliminates the folks who can't or couldn't afford to fund their 4 years of college tuition. So we're certainly relying on the data and shared best practices to create these open pipelines to entry-level careers in the IT space. So again, we also look to innovative models such as the P-TECH early college high school model to effectively promote underrepresented populations into these careers. So what really makes the P-TECH program, just an introduction of P-TECH. P-TECH early college high school model offers a seamless pathway from high school through college and to career. And it's also integrated with industry. But what really makes the P-TECH program so unique is our structured partnership with employers and industry partners who provide in-classroom mentoring and workplace experience for students, exposing them to endless possibilities as early as 14 years old. We also provide 3 years of workplace learning, which build our students' technical and professional skills. So we're focusing less on, typing words per minute and how to give a good firm handshake, but instead, perfecting a 20-second personal pitch, or using design thinking to create user-centered solutions to community issues. So our most important principle is that P-TECH has an open enrollment and bears no cost on families to attain an associate's degree in either software engineering, mobile programming, or web development. And last academic year at P-TECH Norwalk, we had our first student earn all 3 associate degrees. I don't know how he had the time to do this and manage his high school coursework, but this is the caliber of a P-TECH student. When our students complete their high school graduation requirements, their junior year internships, and attain their associate degrees, we then prioritize our highly skilled P-TECH alums to be first in line for jobs to interview at IBM. So as of today, P-TECH Norwalk has graduated over 105 IBM interns, and 15 chose to interview with IBM are now full-time employees. And for the majority of our P-TECH alums who chose to pursue the 4-year college degrees, they enter in as second semester sophomores or juniors. So that takes a lot of money off the back end of that college tuition. And in recent cases, we're even seeing P-TECH alums earn graduate degrees and the remaining time in which their peers are just earning their 4-year bachelor's degrees. So again, there's so much work to be done here in the state, but what we've done a great job thus far is really aligning all of the important actors to a common goal. And that's creating open and accessible pathways for underrepresented populations to careers in information technology. Thank you so much for giving me this time, and feel free to connect out to me at hutch@svp.org.
Thank you very much, Hutch. I want to just give one reminder. We will be sending out these materials, but I want to take 5 minutes for any questions that people have of Ben or Hutch in terms of what you've just heard before we kind of conclude. Questions?
I guess that means you did a good job explaining everything.
Well, with that, then I want to kind of just say some thank yous, first of all, and then put some contact information up on the screen. I want to thank Martha Mincer for organizing this great Connect and Learn. She is an SVP partner who is kind of in charge of our Connect and Learns. You know, we're trying to do these on a monthly basis. What is it? The first
Second Tuesday.
first Tuesday of every month. So
Second Tuesday.
second Tuesday. So please mark your calendars. We really kind of welcome your participation. I want to thank Camille Guthrie and Marjorie Almonsi for helping with a lot of the management of this program today. And then I want to thank our kind of dynamic guest speakers today, Niall Dammando from the Office of Workforce Strategy, and our two newest staff members, which we are very, very excited about. And you can see why, Ben Stang and Austin Hutchinson, better known as Hutch, who are leading the workforce development and are also really working very, very closely with Niall and the Office of Workforce Strategy on these efforts. And I want to reiterate my deep thanks to Carol Heller for the philanthropic support to make all this possible, and also for Bank of America's kind of partnership support on the Governor's Workforce Council in the regional sector partnerships and these job training programs. On the screen is contact information. You can follow us also. Please check out our website. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook. And I also want to just kind of state that SVP membership is open to all. So if you're interested in getting more involved with social venture partners, just reach out to us. We'd be happy to kind of get you more involved with social venture partners. We have right now almost 260 members who are really deeply involved in the work that we're doing. We have project teams with 15 nonprofits, and we're working very closely on collective impact projects with state government. So in early childhood education and in workforce development. So again, thank you very much for participating in all this. I just want to quickly check out if there was any questions in the chat. Not seeing any. Thank you very much for participating today.
Thank you.
And everybody
Thank
have a
you.
great day.
Thanks.
As well.